Alrighty, we're up to about 28, so let's get this show on the road. Great to see you, Stephanie from Fortis. Awesome to connect on with you again, and Tanya from Quest. Great to see you joining from back east. So I think we're without further ado, gonna get this started. And what I'd like to try and do today is kind of swim around the deep end a little bit with you guys, and hopefully energize you and bring some new thoughts and perspectives to what we're doing and what we're all going through. We're gonna do a little check-in as to how we're all feeling. It's kind of crazy times to be a climate professional as things are shifting and changing. Talk about some simple hope and then some deep hope. And then we'll get into some of the hard wiring around why we feel the way we do and how that shows up. And a little bit about some of the software that we run as human beings and the shared humanity that we can see each other. That leads to opportunity and chaos, and a little bit about connection, and we'll end with some focused thought on connecting with ourselves, our bodies, and others. There will be, for those of you to stick around to the end, and encourage everyone to, there will be another gift at the end. I really want to help you guys out. I think climate professionals are the greatest hope and also the greatest risk, and we'll get into that a little bit later as well. Since it is just me on kind of managing the call, it's hard for me to present and look at chat and answer questions and stuff like that all at the same time. So if we could hold dialogue and questions till the end, that would be awesome. I'll commit to finishing the webinar by 1, and I'll also commit to staying on as long as folks want to chat. As we go through the next hour, we're going to be talking about numbers a little bit. 3,300 and 35,000. So kind of keep those numbers in mind, and they'll come back again and again. So first off, it's okay to not be okay all the time. Everybody's dealing with a lot of stuff. There's the things that everybody's dealing with, the pandemic and the cumulative effects from the stressors, and not only things that we've gone through, but things that other close friends and others have gone through and have told us about. And that's that we're empathetic beings. We're wired at a very basic level for connection, so we can absorb a lot of the stress that's out there. Plus, when a clown moves into a palace, the palace, the clown doesn't become a king, the palace becomes a circus. And what we're seeing can, particularly with some of the interesting activity in the US, and the stock markets and stuff like that can be really triggering. And it's a direct threat in some ways to some of the financial stuff. So there's a lot of safety stuff coming up. And then there's all the stuff we have to deal with as climate professionals, because, I've been doing this for 25 years. I know we're all passionate about this. We all feel a deep need to do our part and feel responsibility. And no, things aren't changing enough. We are bending the curves and everything, but it's not happening fast enough. And I feel that in my bones. And this is all correct as far as it goes. And what I'm hoping to do over the next 50 minutes is go a little further and see a little bit beyond. So I'd like to start by checking in. So everybody, get your cell phones out if you have them. If you don't, that's okay. But please try to get your cell phones out and click and look up that QR code. I think probably most of you have used Mentimeter before. It's polling software. It's entirely anonymous. What we'll see on the screen will be averaged responses. I want to check in and see how folks are feeling in these kind of crazy times. So how often do you feel, you know, tired, hopeless, burned out, drained, all that kind of icky kind of stuff? Never? Always? Somewhere in between? Similarly, on the opposite side, fun and enjoyment at work, like it's almost effortless. So trying to feel in, and you don't have to analyze this, your body will know. Um, well, starting to see some responses come in, and I'll leave it open for a little while. Well, some good activity there, some good responses, and we're seeing lots of folks feeling inspiration and intuition and gut feeling. That's great. That's awesome. Connection with your body and with the universe and all that kind of awesome stuff. A lot of responses in the center. Well, that's super awesome that so many folks are feeling like they're taking time to reflect and contemplate and all that kind of great stuff. So you guys are rock stars. You're doing awesome. And you might even be able to do even better. And it's I think there's great opportunities with what I'm seeing here. Really, really good reflection. There's definitely some tiredness and some stress out there. Definitely a lot of folks pushing through, which is natural. It's what we do. It's part of our commitment, and passion is also part of expectation in society. And I felt that. I did that a lot. So thank you so much for sharing that and sharing how you feel and being open and perhaps a little vulnerable there. That's absolutely fascinating. I'm going to close it down in a few seconds as the last couple of folks respond. And then I'm going to share a little bit about myself. Most of you know me. I've seen folks sign up that I don't know, which is awesome. But I'll share with you some stuff about me that some of you who know me probably already know, and some stuff that you may not know. So getting into that, just a sec. So most of you, or many of you, probably know me from Community Energy Association. It's one of multiple organizations or groups that I've founded or led. At least 3 or 4 different ones, all kind of focused around climate action. That some of you may go way back to when I founded the Vancouver chapter of BC Sustainable Energy Association, or Fossil Free GVRD. Nick, I think you might have been around that table at the Spec building on a very sunny day when we invited folks, and like everybody showed up to talk about community planning before any of us really knew what it was. I've also done coaching and mentoring for probably dozens of climate professionals in various ways throughout the last 25 years, all with a focus on self-awareness first, openness, accountability, some of you may know me from the CA work and other things around strategic analysis and looking through the future. So that's kind of the technical side. What you may not know is some of the challenges that I've been through and my multi-decade interest in how we work as human beings. So had early challenges with most of the adults that I was close to dying, and parenting those who really should have been parenting me. So that caused me to close off my emotions because nervous system just went off the charts. So I had to find a way to moderate that and deal with it. It also led me to be very independent, responsible, and led to the question of how can I be of most service? And that's guided me a lot. And for the last 25 years, how I've been of the most service is through climate action in one way or another. In the 2000s, great experience building and leading a fiercely values-based innovation machine of CEA and creating a culture where it's okay not to be okay. That was a lot. It caused a lot of stress for me, and I started to feel burnt out. As I was feeling that, I had a very fascinating experience of an instant, like literally a couple of minutes, instant onset of extreme acute necrotizing pancreatitis. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's about as much fun as it sounds, which basically means that my pancreas decided to kind of digest itself, which really switched on some of the nervous system that usually operates below the surface. So being able to feel intestines moving up and down, it was wild. And now I'm manually operating some of the automated system, or some of the system in our bodies that's usually automated. It was an incredible 18-month meditation on listening to my body. So getting a lot closer to that. So it's also, I'm going to be talking to you about a lot of stuff today around feeling into how we deal with the changes that we're going through today as human beings. And there's hardwiring and software and that. And I'm not just getting into this. I've taken master's level counseling psychology courses, thousands of dollars in various kinds of counseling, books, tons of work, and an amazing wife who's also done decades in exploring personal development and inner game and helping thousands to do the same. So I'm trying to piece together a bunch of different threads in this. I'm not the expert in any one, but I'm trying to share perspectives that are useful to me. So as we get into the more positive side of this webinar, I'd love you to go into the chat right now and share just a sentence or two or a bullet or two around what gives you hope. Where do you find inspiration and hope these days? In the work that you do or in life, or I would love to see that, see some examples of that. Oh, loving community. I love that. That's awesome. And observing nature and systems, that's great. That really works with our hardwired nervous system to really reconnect with things that it finds comforting around nature and stuff like that. And yes, there is a shared humanity, and most people are good and honest. They are coming from very different places, and things are things show up in different ways. And yeah, it's amazing having the privilege of working with really passionate and smart folks who are making a difference. And there is so much openness out there with youth and others, and an open-heartedness um, working together. Um, so yeah, and of course, children are obviously a great source of hope. It can also be a source of fear. It's a balance, like many things. There isn't just one side to things, but absolutely having that connection with children and the potential that's out there is amazing. Um, I'm going to get into a little bit of I'm going to start with a little bit of the climate side of things and where we've been and the time that we're in right now. So this is the 30 part of the 3,300 and 35,000. So I'm going to talk a little bit about BC because that's where I've been, but a lot of this in different ways is showing up across Canada, and the curve that you're seeing in each area will look slightly different, but I'm feeling that the general trajectory is the same. So again, it's easy to feel we're not moving fast enough. Remember that we haven't been moving that long, right? In the 90s and early 2000s, there was really not a whole lot of folks with, climate change in their job description in utilities or in governments or a lot of other places. There were small nonprofits that were stirring things up and creating public momentum. Uh, but and there were like heroes who were plugging away at relentless incrementalism during a time where you could only do so much, talking about efficiency, cost savings, things like that. I remember, first couple of years at CEA in, 2006, 7, 8, it was really about convincing local governments that they actually had a role in community-wide emissions, much less the amazing capacity that we've got out there now. So really, over the last 20 years or so, it's kind of been the golden age of climate action. And we're bending curves, we're doing amazing stuff, we're having huge shifts in policy that in long term are going to create big changes. We haven't completely restructured industrial society in 20 years. Did we really think we were going to do it that quickly? Some of this stuff takes a bit of time. It is a ton of change. And there's ups and downs. And what we're seeing now is, a bit of a shift from a focus or a public zeitgeist around the wanting safety in the future to wanting safety today. So feeling safe physically and financially and psychologically and stuff like that. This is culture breathing. It's shifting back and forth. There is a trajectory. There is an ongoing trajectory towards change, towards getting better, towards inclusivity, towards, fixing climate change. And there's some really specific areas that I look to for hope in that. So this isn't the end, it's perhaps the end of the beginning of climate action. But there's some broad trends that are going to be really tough to go back on. 92% of all electricity coming from clean energy sources. 20 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. Clean energy spending and investment superseding upstream oil and gas investment. Again, 20 years ago, never. And when we look at the price of electricity generation options, we're seeing incredible price drops in renewables, particularly PV and onshore wind. And there's just basic economics there. And, this is just from 2019. Those trends are continuing. So there's some basic economics driving some of this shift on the electric side. And I've looked at analysis for BC, looking at, in 2050, do we have enough options for electricity? If we wanted to electrify everything, can we do peaking? Yeah, absolutely. There's, particularly with onshore wind, there's tons of that out there. It will cost a bit more. It will cost maybe 0.5% to 1% above inflation every year in terms of electricity rates going up. And it provides some other great opportunities within BC. And I know Ralph Torrey is coming out, I think tomorrow, with analysis across Canada that reaches, I think, similar conclusions. So really looking forward to that. But there's definitely hope. And as we electrify vehicles, one of the things that gives me hope is China, where you've got 300 different manufacturers battling it out for a massively growing EV market, where we're approaching 50% of new vehicles in 2024 in China being electric. So if we just look at our friends down in the US, we can get a little depressed. But if we broaden our perspective to the world, wow, what's this going to do for oil and gas oil investment, right? As we shift from internal combustion engines to electric, there's huge shifts. And when you look at where inflection points are globally, we're already approaching 20% of new vehicles being electric. At some point, the steepness of that curve, it just goes exponential. So there's some real hope there. Now, the fun thing about these cars is with bidirectional charging, the numbers that I've run show, with conservative assumptions, that just the vehicles that are in the garages in BC in 2050 could meet the peak load that we have today. So it's an unfathomable amount of massively distributed storage at load. There's stuff that has to be worked out. There's technical bits, but there's huge opportunity here and huge hope. We are bending the curves. They aren't happening fast enough, but they are happening. And cities can change. This is a neat graphic that I found from some of the changes in Paris over time. It has taken time. 2007 to 2024. It doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. And cities, I love cities. They have so much opportunity to make stuff happen, especially with the right support from provincial and federal governments. So, yeah, there's stuff going on. There's a shift in public focus, and that these days, and it also depends on what happens next and what we choose to do with with these shifts. I think it provides a great opportunity to take a breath and take a look at how we're going to go through things and do further change in the future. This is the 300 part of 335,000. The majority of our progress as humans has been in the last 300 years. So when you look back over the big picture over time, now, as climate professionals, this looks eerily similar to the CO2 curve. But remember, it's done amazing things to de-shitify the human experience in terms of life expectancy, living in democracies, getting out of extreme poverty. So incredible exponential curve in the society that we have designed. You layer onto that an even steeper curve on the technology side. And I think there's great potential for that curve to steepen even more as AI becomes more intelligent and accelerates science and development and all these things. So yes, things are moving fast and it's chaotic and we can't keep up with everything coming at us, and it's going to accelerate. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've also made a ton of social change. I haven't been able to find a great graphic for this, but it really hasn't been that long. If we look over the last 30 years in Canada, we have seen big shifts, particularly with Indigenous communities and the relationship of governments to those and reconciliation. And there's still a long way to go. It's still just starting, but it's night and day from where we've been. We're also seeing recently in the 2020s some really interesting court decisions and other legal rights. So, and I think this is, again, part of a trend, and it's got huge potential to leverage in the future. And this is a lot also for folks to deal with. As we are managing our responses to all this change, with a lot of the hard wiring that's within us. Some of the hard wiring we inherited with various upgrades from reptiles. And the last major upgrade to kind of our hardware systems as human beings was about 35,000 years ago. That was a different world. And what we needed for protection and for assessing the environment was quite different. And so what we kind of get now is, I love this quote, that we have Paleolithic, easy for me to say, emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. So no wonder we've got a bit of stress and tension, especially when we're passionate folks about climate change and wanting to make the world a better place. So this hardwiring that I'm talking about, and that I've had the luxury of a little bit more conscious relationship with really recently, our nervous system with sympathetic and parasympathetic, it's body automation and protection. So it's constantly scanning the environment and identifying threats, which is really good when somebody's coming at you with a club or a tiger's running after you, because it works at a speed that our conscious mind, is very slow compared to it. So it operates instantly, which is great, and it wasn't really designed for the society that we're in now, right? This is the 35,000. So we're kind of operating think of our bodies as a building, and we've got a building automation system that, first of all, we may not be aware exists and was designed for a medieval castle while we're running a modern hospital in it. So yeah, things are going to be there will be some interesting things that pop up. And you may feel your conscious mind is in control. But I love this quote from Leonard Cohen as well. Your conscious mind is in control, but as long as your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems let it be in control. So how does this apply to some of how we're feeling and how we're going through and managing on a day-to-day basis? When we're really feeling good, when we're calm, when we're safe, when the nervous system isn't like really fired, we're calm, we're grounded, we're social, we want connection, openness. That's awesome. When we're feeling danger, and danger it's not just physical danger, it's psychological danger, emotional danger, social danger, feeling like we don't have control, feeling expectations, and I have to do this, I have to work faster, have to get this done, big deadlines. So that's, activation. It could also be frustration, anxiety about the future. And if we're spending too much time in that, or the challenge is too great, then we get into the freeze. So this is part of the nervous system response that we inherited from reptiles, so originally designed for things like turtles with upgrades along the way. Not as helpful when dealing with a lot of stuff in our day-to-day lives right now, but this is tired, hopeless, can't do anything, nothing I do matters, and it's a closing in, a shutting down. So it's not necessarily about just staying in social engagement and the ventral state. It's about dynamically moving and having all of these kind of working together. It's also about, having energy and releasing energy. And how it shows up in terms of burnout and things like that, which are a big risk for a lot of folks like us who are doing incredible work with perhaps big expectations that we place on ourselves and that others place on ourselves, and not necessarily a sense of control. Especially if you're dealing with folks who want policy-based facts rather than fact-based policy. But there's some areas around here, like when you're in play and flow, when you're activated but feel positive and enjoying it. I get to do this. This is awesome. And then on the other side, where there's less safety, more perceived danger of one form or another, less control, less ability to manage. That's, I've got to do this. I've got to do the next thing. Got to make this deadline. Got stressed out about budget and things like that, to the point then at where you get to burnout, where I can't do it. It's hopeless and that kind of stuff. Luckily, there are ways to talk to the nervous system and the vagal nerves and start to help moderate some of these responses. So in terms of kind of connecting with your body automation system, as it were, one of the big things is breathing. It's probably the easiest pathway that we have to consciously controlling what's usually an automated function. So usually breathing takes place completely below our radar. We don't have to think about it. But it's one of the easier things to be able to consciously control. So that allows us to connect in with some of the nervous system. And that's part of the reason why meditation works, aside from quieting the mind and giving it something to think about. Drawing attention to the heart while you're doing that also helps, because just with how the nervous system operates, the heart tends to increase, the heart rate tends to increase slightly as you breathe in and tends to drop a little bit as you breathe out. So it's, again, a balance and a shift. But there's a lot of other real specific processes. One of the ones I learned from a guy in the US, Christian Michelson, is peace processing. So focusing on one area of your body where you feel the charge around an issue that is causing you stress and staying with that and stuff like that. But there's lots of different ways to start to connect with your nervous system and to kind of regulate it. And one of the other things is being close to others who are centered and safe and you can connect with. Also really, really helps the nervous system. So that's good for you, but it's also good, if you can be that for others who you're seeing stressed and anxious, and just being there and having that calmness and centeredness. There's also, different opportunities to connect to broader life source stuff. Muscle testing is kind of great. TCM practitioner Colleen Robinson does really great muscle testing kind of stuff and that. But I'd love for you to share again in the chat what else has worked for you when you're feeling uncentered, off balance, stressed. How do you connect with your body or others? And what are some of the techniques or opportunities that are things that have worked for you that may, benefit some of the others on the call? Because there's no one right answer to it. It's all, it really depends a lot on, our nervous system, our experience, and just writing things down and exposing what those worries are and thoughts are. So it isn't a big kind of gray cloud hovering above, but something specific. Yeah, absolutely. Exercise, that's a big part of what works for me. I can move stress through my body with exercise. Great baths and floating where the warmth and connection can drop down your nervous system. And absolutely, cats are great for helping you regulate your nervous system, as well as dogs. Um, yeah, they, particularly with the purring and just that connection, creates a feeling of safety and connection. And I watch a lot of comedy, and that's great. As you laugh, again, that's really connecting with your nervous system. And I'm connecting with the stars or nature. Absolutely. I've got the privilege to have a place out near Pender Harbor, and just looking up at night and seeing like the full sky of stars with the Milky Way and feeling that deep connection to the universe and beyond ourselves is amazing. Um, I'm going to um, I'm going to continue moving along, but please continue to type in if anything comes to you. So that's the hardware side of things. I also mentioned there's software, and one perspective on worldview on the software side of how we view things and view the world, and this is stuff that was developed 20, 30 years ago by building on work that goes back far further by Clare Graves and others, but particularly refined by Andrew Cohen and Ken Wilber and others down in the U.S. But you can think of us humans evolving through different levels of worldview or different perspectives. From basic survival and instinct to a magical universe to just power and impulse and power over others and domination, which we have the privilege of having a great example of. Order and rules. There's one right way to do things. To where a big part of the center of gravity of society is right now, which is competition, success, achieving through the ecological and human relations and Greenpeace and where a lot of us are or have been, through to some of the emerging areas of really being able to play through all of the different levels. And no wonder something operating at three or four levels away from us looks kind of weird. Now, it also would look kind of weird the other way, too. So looking from an authoritarian or dominant perspective up to, these other ways of thinking can also be, weird and challenging and can cause stress and anxiety and stuff like that, because you've got folks who are at all different levels. And there's a big part of society at kind of the authoritarian and achievist kind of levels in that. So no wonder we're going back and forth a little bit on some of the climate stuff and equity and diversity, which is creating the better world for the future and for all of us, and the more of a shrinking of the we and being safe in the way things have been and things that you can understand from a certain level and stuff like that. So recognize that what we're going through right now is a bit of culture breathing. It's not a turnaround, it's not a reversing of a course, it is a breath and a pause, and we're going to continue on our 335,000 year journey. One of the neat things about how we're wired is we're also wired to connect. If you're near someone, you're connected with them. There's a magnetic field that can be measured with scientific equipment going out about 3 feet from your body in all directions. So your body your physical influence does not stop at your fingertips. You're energetically at least 3 feet outside of your body and connecting with other folks. And there's some folks like Dan Spinner, who's doing a bunch of work on biofield awareness and how we connect as people energetically when we come together. One of the biggest ways we can make change is just by the way we show up. and showing up with that openness and understanding that there's folks who are at different levels, but also at yeah, dealing with a lot of the same stuff. We all share the same hard wiring, the same hardware, though we may be at slightly different software upgrade levels. So recognizing that shared humanity across all of us. And this gives us, opportunity in chaos, and I'm running a little later than I thought I would. So again, this is culture, breathing, long-term to short-term safety. There's opportunities when you look at how people are wired and how they think to see that common humanity. A lot of what we're seeing is people wanting safety in one way or another. And a lot of what we're doing is, safety for the future. A lot of the opposition is safety for the present and feeling things that they understand. So, just appreciating that common humanity, perhaps gives us doorways to disagree without being disagreeable. As we go through this, I think there's a great opportunity for us to pause and to not stop doing stuff, but to also, while we're doing things, think about where the future's going and think about the acceleration that's happening and what we're going to need. I think, short term, tactically selling mitigation through safety, through personal safety, through adaptation, emergency preparedness, heat pumps for, seniors and stuff like that to provide cooling. Health is obviously a big opportunity area. Cost savings where there's opportunities, and we're starting to see that with electric vehicles, starting to get the operating costs, the operating cost savings more than the capital cost savings. Independence, so solar PV and EVs to give a middle finger to the big companies and stuff like that. As excited as a lot of folks are about gas vehicles, everybody thinks the oil companies are ripping them off. So, finding these ways to sell what you want through the perspective that others are seeing it through. I think where we're going is not so much about the next retrofit or next policy, and it's about connection. And it's about dialogue and awareness of ourselves and others when reaching across diverse worldviews. I think, I think we're going to need more connectivity in the future to deal with the challenges that we have. There will be an acceleration, there will be increased climate changes, but we also have a great opportunity to come together more than we have. Social media doesn't necessarily help that. It only started, 15, 20 years ago. It's still like a baby. So there is, things aren't the way, things that are now are not writ in stone. And part of getting to peace in some of this is doing the good work, doing what you can do, and letting go of what you can't control, letting go of the outcomes. It's not easy. Being attached to a specific future is a recipe for stress and frustration. It's something that we are all trying to do. We're trying to make the world a better place. We can't control what the world does, but we can do great work, and we can show up in great ways. A couple more Rumi quotes. What I would like to do is, as I discussed earlier, I've gone through the bad side of stuff, and I've also gone through the good. I think the work that all the folks on this call and others are doing is what gives me the greatest hope. My greatest fear is that some will just simply give up or burn out. And what I've done is I've pulled all the insight, all the experience, all the decades of work I've been doing on this stuff. Because I had a lot to unpack and a lot to deal with. And I created a program with things that there's no one right answer, but things that are useful to make any journey that you want to go on around this stuff faster and perhaps a bit more graceful than mine. So, because it's Earth Day, and because I really want each of you to succeed, this has been a great webinar. It hasn't had a lot of dialogue. It hasn't let me focus in on an individual, but I am offering that to each one of you who's on the call, a Climate Pro Re-Energizer session. So get a crystal clear vision of what you being best or at your best as a Climate Pro looks like and feels like. Uncover the hidden challenges, learn the practical tools and techniques, and we'll work towards an integrated plan for getting to the results you want to achieve in 90 minutes. I'm not going to get all the way there, but we will play with some practical tools. We will get clear visions, and you'll leave that session renewed and re-energized as well. That's usually $300, which is a bargain in itself, bringing all that decades of dealing with the stuff and working on it, all to focus on you and what you need. Not you as your job, but you as a human being who happens to be doing that job. So, as a pre-gift for today, you can click on the link below, and I'll drop that into the chat. And I apologize for going over time slightly here. But you can click on the link and go to my scheduling page, enter Earth Day 100, and you will be able to claim that $300 value for free because I want you guys to succeed, and I want to honor Earth Day. So let me just drop that into the chat. Boom. And I really appreciate each of you showing up for this call. And I do apologize for going over time. And what I would like to do now, as some of you go in and book your session, and some of it will be exploring some of the stuff today, exploring some of the ways to connect into your body, some perhaps meditation. It really depends on what's up for you and what you and your system needs and wants. You don't have to analyze it too much. You'll feel into it and feel, you'll get, your body will give you a yes or a no. It will say, yeah, that I need to do, or I want to do something like this. I'm feeling drawn, I'm feeling a magnetic draw, or I'm feeling no. And if you're feeling no, that could be, there could be some fear in there that I'm happy to, help you explore and feel into and understand a bit more and all that kind of good stuff. So what I would love to do now is open things up for a dialogue. This is the end of the formal part of the webinar, and I'd love to hear